In this challenge, we're going to try some techniques used in strength-based psychology. So strength-based psychology is a school of thought that focuses more on people's internal strengths and resourcefulness and less on people's weaknesses, failures, and shortcomings. So strength-based exercises are sometimes used to help people with, say, depression or anxiety, people maybe trying to rebuild their confidence after a difficult relationship, or partners and families who might be struggling to relate to one another. But they're also really handy for anyone who just wants to kind of counter that human negativity loop a little bit and take a bit more of a balanced approach to their self-perception. Today we're going to practice gratitude for our own strengths and positive qualities. And some of us won't have too much of an issue with this at all, while some of us might struggle with this quite a bit. Research in positive psychology has shown that learning to use our strength in new ways can significantly improve our mood and our self-perception. Strength-based techniques involve identifying our strengths, understanding how they're used, and learning new ways to apply them. So have you ever had the experience of learning a new word or maybe buying a new car and all of a sudden you're hearing that word everywhere or seeing that kind of car everywhere? Spotting our strengths or weaknesses works in a really similar way. So when you're really good at identifying your perceived flaws, you start spotting examples of them everywhere. But when we learn to spot our strengths as well, we start seeing evidence for our strengths everywhere as well. So the simplest and fastest way to do this practice is to use the first page of the template to identify your 5 biggest strengths and why you're grateful for those strengths. Very often though, people find it a lot easier to identify positive qualities in other people than they do in themselves. So if you have a few more minutes handy or you're just struggling a little bit with the first question, there's some other exercises to help you start to identify what your biggest strengths might be. If you're really struggling with this today, don't stress. It's pretty natural and you're not going to be the only one. So it's fairly common for people who engage in negative self-talk to be a little bit resistant to challenging that narrative and to find it hard to identify or sit with their strengths. So these people, and I've definitely been one of them, often imagine that their negative self-talk is 100% valid. And that to challenge it might actually be to risk overselling or deluding themselves. They often feel that harsh self-talk actually prepares them for life or for dealing with disappointment. Or perhaps that positive self-talk is a little bit patronizing because it isn't genuine. If this is you, it might be helpful to combine our self-gratitude practice with a compassionate acknowledgement practice. So our sharing practice today is to share one strength or skill or positive aspect of ourselves that we're really grateful for. Again, this might be really easy for some of you and a little bit more difficult for others, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what people came up with because I think it's nice to kind of take a break from self-criticism and celebrate our strengths for the day.